everybody, it's Chris Eads, known online as Wootini, here with another Gay Gamer video podcast. I know obviously this episode is going to be all about my thoughts on the new Animal Crossing Direct, but first a few quick movie reviews, because I saw some movies in the past couple weeks since my last episode. And first up is Venom, Let There Be Carnage, the sequel to the Venom movie. And it was fine. It's like any good sequel, it's more of the same and more of it. So now instead of the one symbiote, you have two. And you have Woody Harrelson chewing up the scenery, and it's actually rather entertaining. It's funny. It's entertaining. There's some good action sequences. If you liked the first one, you'll like this one too, because they don't go in a different direction or anything. It's just more of the same. The 3D was good. I think the 3D might have actually helped, especially at the end with the action scenes, because when you've got the two symbiotes fighting each other, it gets very busy and it's dark and stuff, so having the 3D to help see the space of where everybody is and what they're doing, I feel like that might have helped a little. But I didn't understand the big fuss over the mid-credit sequence that everyone flipped out over at the end credits, because I'm like, okay, it wasn't that exciting. It's intriguing, but it's not like, oh my goodness. Next up, I had planned to see the new James Bond movie in IMAX, but then I found out that No Time to Die had received a 3D conversion. So I said, no, I'm going to go see it in 3D, because I love 3D. And I feel like 3D can help make a mediocre movie better. And so I said, instead of IMAX, I'll go with 3D. And I'm very glad I did, because it was actually a really good conversion. There was a lot of great 3D in it. And I think it did help to kind of alleviate some of the nonsense in this movie. Because I have to say that... okay, it's a better ending than Spectre would have been, but it's still not great. Because the Daniel Craig movies did something unusual for the James Bond franchise, which is to introduce continuity. These are supposed to be one-off movies, and they're not really supposed to refer to previous movies, and they're just supposed to be, here's your villain, and here's what they're trying to do, and James Bond has to go stop him. The end. But here, they tried to build this continuity, and it was like, oh, you know, everything that happened in the first three movies, that was all Spectre, this evil organization run by Blofeld. And you're like, okay. But then Blofeld turns out to be kind of lame, and you're like, eh. So it doesn't, you know, they try to build to something, but then they don't actually follow through, and it's not that interesting or exciting or effective. And so here, they try to follow through, and it's like, I never understood his love for this blonde chick. She's so boring, she's so bland, I don't know why he would give up his life for her, but whatever. That the whole thing builds on that. So, like, and again, they have this big spectacle, and it's the big ending to the Daniel Craig era of James Bond, and he's fighting Rami Malek's villain who's super boring and lame, and it's like, why is he the one that... No. So, like, it's frustrating because the continuity doesn't work, because they basically just say, oh, the things that happened in the previous movie, it's because of this, and they're just, like, making it up as they go along. There was clearly no master plan, so everything just sort of falls flat, and it doesn't really feel like it built to anything. You know, did we learn nothing from the Star Wars sequel trilogy? You have to have a plan. You can't just go in and say, oh, it's a trilogy. You have to have a plan. You have to say, this will build to this, which will build to that. You can't say, oh, we don't like what this director and writer did, so we're going to, like, backpedal and change this, that, and the other thing so we can have it be this instead. Like, no. So I'm hoping that when we do the next James Bond, we can give up on the continuity idea and just have single movie adventures, please. Thank you. Speaking of continuity, the final movie I want to talk about is Halloween Kills, which is the sequel to the 2018 Halloween, which was supposed to be a direct sequel to the 1978 classic Halloween, erasing all others. All the other Halloween movies never happened. which ended up being kind of a problem for me because when I watched the Halloween movie, Jamie Lee Curtis, like Laurie Strode, is like locked in her house and she's got booby traps everywhere because she's convinced Michael's going to come kill her. And I'm just like, why? He literally killed like 4 people. He killed 3 of your friends and a truck driver. Why do you think he's coming after you? Whereas if you let at least Halloween 2 still exist, then yes, he came after her in the hospital and clearly wants to kill her specifically and wants to finish the job. So then yes, she should be a little paranoid. But if it's just the first movie, her paranoia doesn't really track. And it kind of threw me off for the whole movie. And so that still tracks in Halloween Kills, where everyone is acting like Michael Myers was this mass murderer. And I'm like, he literally killed 4 people. Like, everyone's overreacting a little. I mean, now he's insane because he kills dozens of people in this movie. So now you can overreact. Now you're not overreacting anymore. So, but the whole thing, it just doesn't track for me as a sequel to the original Halloween. And also, the original Halloween was a terrifying thriller with lots of great suspense. And there was no graphic violence or gore. And now these movies are full of graphic violence and gore, and it's just, they introduce a character, and 3 minutes later, they're brutally murdered. And it's like, they don't bother to create characters, and it's just like, what? So, it's just murder after murder after murder after murder, and I feel like they're trying, they have this subplot where I think they're trying to say something about mob mentality, but it doesn't really come off, because then they have to go and kill people again. So I don't know that slasher movies are the best places to do social commentary. But I can't really talk too much about other things I didn't like, because I don't want to spoil it in case you haven't seen it and you want to. But my main issues with it are that it doesn't feel like a Halloween movie because of the graphic violence that is not present in the original Halloween. And the fact that since this is planned as the middle part of a trilogy, there's no ending. Like, the first one had an ending. And I said, and I remember getting into an argument with someone on Twitter because they were like, I said he wasn't dead, and he's coming back for the sequel. And they were like, they insisted that Michael Myers was dead. That's it. He's dead. And I was like, have you not seen these movies before? Like, this is making a lot of money. They're making a sequel. He's not dead. And sure enough, he's not dead. But at least here I feel like there is a plan. So maybe the third movie will bring everything together. But I don't think so. Because this movie doesn't even end. It's not even like there's a cliffhanger. It just sort of stops. So it's super unsatisfying. And I was really kind of irritated at it. Whatever. Your mileage may vary. I have a bunch of friends who really loved it and think it's great. So enjoy. But now, on to the reason why we're here, which is the Animal Crossing Direct. Which, when I went to watch it, I was like, why is this 20 minutes long? And it's because it's not just the free update that we all were expecting. There's also paid DLC coming on the same day. In case it wasn't enough, here's twice as much. It's more than you could ever want. But let's just start with the free update first. We knew we were getting Brewster. We knew we were getting the Roost. But we're getting so many more characters. We're getting Cap'n, we're getting Harriet, we're getting Reese and Cyrus, we're getting Katrina, Tortimer. Like, they're bringing everybody back. So if there was a character that you missed from a previous Animal Crossing game that wasn't in New Horizons, it's probably being brought in the November 5th update. My concern is that they're bringing them back, but I don't know how much content. I'm excited to see the characters, but I don't know what kind of content they're bringing with them. Because the Roost is nice, and I like the idea of using the amiibo card so I can be like, oh hey, Tiffany, come and have a cup of coffee with me. That's fine. But if that's it, it's just a hangout place, that's not a whole lot to do. I'd like it to be like in the previous game where you could have a job there. And people would come in and they would ask for coffee and you would have to make it just as they like it. And then you would learn how they like their coffee and you could make their coffee. And then you get like special furniture and rewards and whatever. And it's another little mini game. Just like with Cap'n, he's basically like Dodo Airlines. He'll ferry you out to a random island where you can like do stuff. And this way you just get his lovely song as he does it, which is always awesome. And now there's like more variety of the islands. There's different kinds of flora. It could be winter, it could be night. You don't even know what you're going to get. So that's interesting, but it's still not a lot. Like, I wanted them to bring back the minigame island from the previous Animal Crossing game, where you could like go with your friends and you could play tag and like hide and seek and whatever. Like give us mini games, give us more activities, more things to do. Because like group stretching in the morning is not really going to be my cup of tea. I'm not going to stand in front of my TV and go like this with my Joy-Cons to stretch with my Animal Crossing residents. I don't see that happening. And I don't... They're adding a whole bunch of DIY recipes that are actual recipes for cooking food. And I don't really... Like, I don't see the point of it. Like, it doesn't do anything. So, like, why am I going to go through the effort of farming crops to craft soup and pies and whatever, cookies and things? Like, just, like, why would I do this? Unless they have your animal friends say, oh, I'm really hungry for soup. And then you can go and craft them some soup and bring it to them, and then that's, you're doing them the favor and stuff, and that helps cement your friendship. That would be okay. There was no indication of that in the direct, but because otherwise it's just busy work. And I'm just like, it doesn't get me anything. And I only like cooking in real life, because then I can eat it in reality. Cooking virtually, you can't eat that, and it's not as satisfying. And it's also bringing in new stuff. There's new exteriors, there's new fencing, there's new furniture, there's gyroids finally, and it looks like you have to like bury a piece of a gyroid and water it, and then you get the gyroid. It's not just after it rains, there's gyroids in the ground. You have to like plant them and grow them, so that's interesting. That's a little extra effort, I guess. They're also doing the thing where they will invite you over to your neighbors will invite you over, or if you're in your house, they'll just invite themselves in, which I was kind of glad they dropped that from New Horizons, because I always found it kind of irritating. Like, if I'm in my house, like, trying to redecorate or, like, do something, and then they're just like, hey! And then they're like, show me around your house! And I'm just like, I really don't have time for this. But we'll see what happens this time, because now they're putting it in again. It's back. The one thing that I'm actually most intrigued by in this update is they've added a new camera mode that is a point-of-view camera mode, where it looks from the footage like you can go into your point-of-view camera and walk around, which is about as close as we'll get to a first-person Animal Crossing game, which is kind of exciting for me. I kind of like that. It's more immersive, whatever. I'm sure you can't go very far, but it's something. I would also like to see like different frames or filters and stuff, a little bit more to the photo mode other than just a camera angle. But a new camera angle is very helpful, because it is much better, because you can get right in there, and that will make for better pictures. So, yay! And then there's also the paid DLC. They are adding Happy Home Designer. Sorry, Happy Home Paradise. And instead of being a separate game like it was on the 3DS, it's DLC for the main game, which is actually a super good idea. Because when I played Happy Home Designer on the 3DS, it was very enjoyable, it was a cute novelty, but eventually that novelty wore off, and I totally kind of lost interest, because it doesn't get you anywhere, and I was playing my regular Animal Crossing game at the same time, so every day I would play Animal Crossing and check in on my town, and pick my weeds, and do whatever, water my flowers, and say hello to everybody. And then having to go over to Happy Home Designer and design someone's home, I was like, I don't have time for that today. So I would lose interest. But here, it's DLC, so it is much more connected to the main game, and the things that you learn to do, the design elements from Happy Home Paradise, can be brought into New Horizons, and that's exciting. But even more exciting is the fact that eventually you can redesign the homes on your island, and that is amazing, because over the course of time, you give people gifts. You're like, here's a couch, here's a lamp, here's a litter box, and then their houses, which start out with a design scheme, turn into just a collection of random crap. So it would be nice for some of the people like Lopez or Genji, who I'm never letting go. I can go in and design their house and give them a nice interior. And that would be very lovely. So I would look forward to that. I am, however, only going to get that DLC, because they also announced that it's being included in the package when you buy their new Nintendo Online Plus package, which includes the Nintendo 64 and Genesis games. It turns out that that's actually going to be $50, which is kind of a lot. And it includes the Happy Home Paradise DLC for Animal Crossing. So I guess if you don't have Animal Crossing, then why would you care? But that's a lot of money for just the extra games. But I'm just going to get the DLC by itself, because I don't play the Super Nintendo or NES games as it is. So, like, I have no use for the Genesis or N64 games, really. So there's really no point in paying the extra $25 for that. Thank you, though. But yeah, so I can't believe it's all happening in the same day. That's sort of insane. But I will be getting it. And I'm very much looking forward to that cute little monkey named Nico, who I need a plush toy of right now, Nintendo, please, thank you very much. He's adorable. So yeah, so this has been a really long one. I apologize. I shouldn't have wasted time on movies when I had all of that Animal Crossing glory to talk about. So we'll see in November how it all turns out. And come back here next episode and I'll talk about something else. Bye!